made us eradicate the fear that we walked in order to enslave the people the way America enslaved us, they had to keep us afraid.
Uncle taught us. He said he ain't nothing but a white man. He ain't no tree, he ain't no mountain. He's just a white man. And if cut, he bleeds just like you. If he cries, he stings just like you. But he has made an artificial world in which you will bow down. He said that means so.
May 21st, 1964, 9 months before his assassination. The most controversial black leader in American history returns from a pilgrimage to Mecca.
Well, I'm a Muslim. Islam is my religion. And it's my intention to try and restore Orthodox Islam among the Afro-American community and people period in this country, because I think it's the only thing that creates brotherhood.
Do you feel that your message, apparent message of love that you brought back from Islam is the real reason they're after you, because you're not hating it hard as they want?
Well, I never did hate anybody hard.
I never hated anybody hard. These few words in the mouth of Malcolm X have the effect of a bombshell. The American press prepares their biggest headlines. The priest of black pride no longer hates the white folks. And yet he has plenty of reasons to hate American society. Born Malcolm Little in 1925, he grows up in a country where blacks are still Negroes. In the North, the American dream ends on the frontiers of black ghettos. In the South, apartheid is openly declared, and lynching is a recreational activity.
In America, they called it segregation. But what it was legal apartheid. Blacks in America were not allowed to shop in the same stores with white Americans. We could not eat in the same restaurants. We could not sit in the same bus terminals or the same air terminals. If an African American was walking down the sidewalk and a white American was coming down the sidewalk, the African American would have to step off into the gutter to let the white American go by. That was the protocol. That's ridiculous. That's sick, but that was America.
Malcolm X comes from a family of militants and soon discovers the prize of not playing Uncle Tom.
My grandfather he was threatened by the Black Legion. It was a white, racist organization. He was hung. He broke the bridge. They put him on the train tracks. They cut him in half. Severed him, not completely. He wasn't dead to the trial. When my grandmother tried to claim the insurance, it was said he committed suicide. She had to prove he was murdered, which was not going to happen to white men in the 1930s in Michigan. She had a nervous breakdown. The state institutionalized her and separated the young kids, one being my father.
Early in life, Malcolm is a rebel and soon a delinquent. A drug user and burglar, he is sentenced to 8 years in prison for breaking and entering. Once inside, he is drawn to a sectarian African-American splinter group known as the Nation of Islam, a strange mix of Muslim religious ideas and hocus-pocus mysticism. The leader, Elijah Muhammad, presents himself as the messenger of Allah. The kingdom of heaven is nigh, and the white demon will soon return to oblivion. The black man, the superior being, will rule the world.
Mr. Muhammad taught that most of the Bible was prophecy, not history. It was things that prophets saw were going to happen. And Malcolm accepted that concept of religion. He saw himself prophetically as Paul. He saw Mr. Muhammad as Jesus. And because of this, he acted with a strength, a force, and a surety that an ordinary person could not use.
Malcolm travels the country, preaching his gospel and developing the organization. Donnie Williams and Harold Hyman, two former Nation of Islam members, recall the early days in Philadelphia.
This is the house he lived in when he moved in here. We met him at the train station coming from New York, and we brought him from the train station. We brought him right in here. You see. and this is where he stayed. Malcolm came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and very seldom will he even use the name without the title of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So he was really dedicated to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was really dedicated to making as much progress as possible and bringing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad forth to the American public. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son called Malcolm the perfect follower. That's correct. The perfect follower. That's correct.
In the 1950s, the arrival of Malcolm X does not go unnoticed among the various political and civil rights organizations, effectively fronted by Martin Luther King. But for Malcolm X, King and his clique are a bunch of bourgeois nobodies who have sold out to the white establishment. He wants to change the world. When Luther King speaks about non-violence, Malcolm X advocates self-defense. When Luther King dreams of equality and integration within white society, Malcolm X promotes political and economic independence. The spokesman for the Nation of Islam proposes complete racial separation and the creation of an independent black state. In the ghettos, Malcolm X becomes a spokesman for revenge.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad instructed God now is about to establish a kingdom on this earth based upon brotherhood and peace. And the white man is against brotherhood, and the white man is against peace. The history on this earth has proved that. Nowhere in history has he been brotherly toward anyone. The only time he's brotherly toward you is his sin, and he's in church, and he's in a mess, and he will submit to him. And since his own history makes him unqualified for being an inhabitant or a citizen of the kingdom of brotherhood, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the ground is about to eliminate that particular race in the earth.
I was in a civil rights organization, and the first time we heard Malcolm speak, everyone said racist.
The first time I went to the mosque, I almost peed in my pants. I was so scared. I said, the FBI, somebody's going to come in here and arrest all of these people.
And I said, I'm going to go up and say something to him. So I'm so short, I was able to get to the crowd. And I came through his bodyguard, and I tapped his backwards to me, and I tapped him on I said, Mr. X, I said, I don't agree with most of what you said, but I thank you for it. But there were some things that I did, but I didn't agree with most of the things that you said. And he looked at me with those amazing eyes that pierced your brain in such a way that you were startled by, or pierced your eyes, pierced your heart. He said, what did you want?
White America soon puts a face to the rebellious voice of the ghettos. Malcolm Little becomes Malcolm X.
What is your real name? Malcolm X.
That's your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got his grandfather, who got it from the slave master. The real names of our people were destroyed.
I heard of Malcolm X every day on the radio, on the television, and the newspaper. Because he had mastered using the media, Malcolm was able to articulate a view that says we will not stand by quietly for apartheid and tyranny to be exercised upon our people.
And yet in May 1964, on returning from Mecca, Malcolm X adopts a new standpoint. He embraces a new vision of the world and the relations between races.
So gradually my father saw true Islam, Asians, Europeans, Africans all sitting together, and he could actually see these people and not feel resentment, and he made his Hajj, and it changed his life. He finally saw what the world was. It wasn't just a civil rights issue between blacks and whites in America. It was a human rights issue.
Is this a veritable revelation? Or is a wily tactician? Does he have another agenda?
But Malcolm was not ignorant. He knew that black people could not function in a world all by themselves. He knew that they needed to form alliances with other people in order to get Malcolm would have ever changed to the point where he would have accepted Malcolm as people who would be trusted.
Alliances and trust. Malcolm X in 1965. He returns to the USA to find himself isolated. He therefore seeks to create a new network of influence to develop his own movement, the Organization for African American Unity.
After he had the press conference, him and Abdullah went downtown to get an office space to reach the hotel. The office space was actually on the second floor. He says in his press release that he still believes that the Arabi Light Muhammad solution was the best solution for African Americans, and that was separation. That he's going to work with whoever, whenever, and however he possibly can.
He finds support from a number of new independent African nations. His aim is to unite all the black peoples of Africa and America against Western oppression.
They say that the most powerful black in the West are the African Asians with the African Asian blacks. These are the brothers. Yet they say more weight in a political battle than the nations who have all the money. Why? Because no matter how powerful America is, you only have one vote. You and I have to look at it. And understand that. We're at the new Audubon Ballroom. This is the Audubon Ballroom. This is the place where he used to hold his meetings. And most times the meetings was on Sundays. At least be 500 to 600 people each time that Malcolm would come to speak. And the energy was really exciting, especially for us who were members of the OAU and Muslim Mass Incorporated at that point. And especially also when he brought like Muhammad Ali, who was the leader of the revolution, and Zanzibar.
His reputation soon extends well beyond the United States. Ironically, the isolated and independent Malcolm X becomes even more dangerous for his enemies. 2 months previously, he had broken with the Nation of Islam.
When did things started to go bad between Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X?
When Ronald Stokes was killed. Pure silver.
April 27th, 1962, Los Angeles. Ronald Stokes is a disciple of the Nation of Islam. He is killed during a police check, shot down while his hands are in the air. The check is unlawful. The event causes a scandal at the time.
Mr. Muhammad said this and wrote this. He said, you see these men? These are Muslims. These are the fruit of Islam. If you kill one of them, you must die. You must be murdered because they are the best of Islam.
There are widespread fears of escalating violence. True to his principles, Malcolm X visits the scene and warns the forces of law.
We do not endorse Martin Luther King's philosophy of turn the other cheek. We don't turn the other cheek to anyone. And it should be made known that anytime these brothers are attacked, when they know they're in the right, those brothers have the right to retaliate to the fullest extent of their ability. They will have a hard life.
But the Nation of Islam merely publishes a simple protest and discredits their own spokesman. Malcolm X, advocating retaliation, has to give in and turn the other cheek. For some, the timing is just right. A number of enemies within the Nation of Islam are concerned about his growing popularity.
He was teaching or speaking the words of Elijah Muhammad, but if you ever look at Elijah Muhammad's speeches, he wasn't making people, man, his speeches were pretty lame. He was sickly, he was manic, and he needed a speaker. Ergo, my father, charismatic, articulate, stunning, handsome.
He would excite them, in his, presentations. Some would even have
head start. Elijah Muhammad got sick in 1962, and everyone thought that he was going to die. The newspapers speculated at that particular point that the logical successor to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would be Malcolm X. And at that point, the family looked and said, wait, we got too much invested. We're going to lose our cash cow. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked at Malcolm as his seventh son. And so they did everything they could to break that up.
A simple pretext will suffice to seal the divide. The assassination of President Kennedy, November 22nd, 1963. Elijah Muhammad forbids his disciples from commenting on Kennedy's assassination. The messenger is afraid of offending a substantial proportion of the black community who had supported the Democratic candidate. But Malcolm X pays no heed, and once again, and once too many, creates headline news.
And a reporter asked him, what do you think of President Kennedy's assassination? And Malcolm went on talking about this, that, and the other, President Kennedy, and he said, so, the assassination was a case of chickens coming home to roost, and chickens coming home to roost never made me sad. Chickens coming home to roost always made me glad. I was there and I was officiated at Manhattan Center. And I called him and said, these reporters, you want them here? And he said, well, should we put them out? He said, don't put them out. But don't let any others in.
And this is how the white propaganda establishment back then paraphrased it. Their spin was, oh, he hates all white people, he's glad the president's dead. That's not what he meant. What he meant was, here you had a suppressor all over the world, colonizing, reaping the benefits, suppressing the indigenous people, creating wars, choosing who's going to get medicine, who isn't, who's going to get aid, who isn't. And it comes back and bites him on the ass.
The Nation of Islam's response is not slowly coming. 2 weeks later, Malcolm X is suspended as spokesman.
But everybody thought Malcolm would be out for 90 days, and then he'd come back in. But before the 90 days were up, everybody started talking about him. Don't call him Malcolm, call him Red. He never was with the messenger. Yeah, he ought to be killed, so and so. I said, killed? No, I said, that's unacceptable. So I called him out. Finally, I reached Malcolm, and I told him, he laughed. He said, he said, I wasn't a Sunday Muslim. I gave 12 years of my life to that organization. I said, well, it's estimated you're talking about killing.
The word is soon passed around the Nation of Islam mosques.
So, this is it.
Okay. Now, this is the first mosque.
This is the first mosque. This
First temple back as they used to.
That's right. Just became temple number 12.
Right. They started saying in the mosque at that time that Malcolm's name should never be mentioned again, and I just couldn't see that, and I said, they just dropped him like a hot potato. And he did much of the work that we enjoy today, I just didn't understand how they could just go completely against this man, like he wasn't nothing, And I said, this is not right. And I knew then it was time to leave unless somebody could really explain to me what's going on.
Things really started to happen. The signs of death threats were increasing. Hang up phone calls, I'm going to kill you and blow up your house. This is before the house was bombed.